Russian tanks are vanishing from the battlefield. Not because they're outdated, but because they're being hunted. Once the ultimate symbol of military power, these steel giants are now fleeing before they even fire a shot. The game changer isn't a new missile or artillery piece. It's a tiny drone you can buy online for a few $100s. FPV drones have turned front lines into deadly traps, and the tank, the unstoppable force of modern warfare, is suddenly a lumbering death machine. This isn't just a tactical shift. It's the death of an era, and it's happening right before our eyes. By mid-2025, Russian tank losses in Ukraine have reached staggering numbers. Ukraine's general staff claims nearly 10,000 tanks destroyed, while independent analysts tracking satellite imagery confirm at least 3,600. Either way you look at it, the scale is jaw-dropping. At the start of 2022, Russia had around 17,500 tanks in reserve, a mix of modern T-90s, T-80s, and T-72s, plus older T-64s, T-62s, and even T-55s. If Ukraine's numbers are accurate, more than half of that force has already been wiped out. Russia's production lines have struggled to keep up. New tanks like the T-90M Proryev and T-72BM are rolling off the assembly line, but the numbers are painfully insufficient. The country has been forced to pull older models from storage, patch them up, and send them straight into the most dangerous zones, fully aware many will be shredded before firing a single shot. The result? Fewer tanks are seen on the front lines each day, and what's left is a mix of aging machines and hurriedly refurbished Cold War relics. The era of unstoppable armored columns seems to be slipping away, replaced by a new battlefield reality. One where even the most powerful tanks can't survive without constant protection. And this is just the beginning of how warfare itself is changing. Not all tanks rolling into battle are fresh off the factory floor. Take the T-80 BVM, for example. Delivered in 2025, it's labeled as new, but in reality, it's a heavily refurbished version of a tank that first entered service in 1976. Sure, it has an upgraded 125mm gun, a slightly stronger engine, new tracks, and modern electronics. But underneath, it's still a Cold War relic. And Russia can only produce a handful of these each month, far below the number needed to replace losses. Satellite imagery tells the same story. Tank storage depots are being emptied as ever-older models are dragged out, patched up, and sent to the front lines. Analysts estimate that in 2022, Russia refurbished and produced around 1,500 tanks. By 2024, that number dropped to 600, and in 2025, it will fall to about 400. With fewer and fewer tanks available, and the ones left in poorer condition, the odds of survival on the battlefield are plummeting. These refurbished machines are being thrown into battle with full knowledge that many will end up as scrap. The age of the unstoppable Russian tank is fading fast, and what's taking its place is a battlefield littered with hulking, vulnerable steel, and the drones that are waiting to tear them apart. The real game changer on the battlefield isn't a new tank or missile. It's a tiny drone you can buy online for a few $100s. At first, Ukraine fought Russian tanks with mines, artillery, and anti-tank missiles, but then everything changed. FPV drones entered the scene, and suddenly, the rules of warfare were rewritten. These drones are perfect anti-tank weapons. They can fly over a tank and strike from above, where armor is weakest. Engineers designed tanks to withstand attacks from the front, not from the sky. Even the world's most advanced tanks, like the US M1 Abrams, have almost no protection on top. A single, well-placed drone strike can destroy a $10 million tank in seconds. Ukraine quickly mastered this new threat. Within months, Russian columns became easy targets, and even NATO-supplied tanks like the Abrams and Leopard 2s were being pulled from the front lines. For the first time in decades, small, inexpensive drones proved more deadly than massive armored machines. On the modern battlefield, agility, skill, and technology now outweigh raw firepower, and tanks, no matter how powerful, are suddenly vulnerable. The battlefield is no longer just trenches, tanks, and artillery. It's a deadly network of FPV kill zones. These zones are created when a force concentrates enough drones, operators, and support equipment to saturate an area. Within seconds of detecting enemy movement, swarms of drones dive down, explosives primed, leaving almost nothing alive in their path. The impact on warfare is staggering. Tanks and infantry are easy pickings, medics can't safely evacuate the wounded, and even a few seconds outside a trench can be fatal. Where artillery once defined the front line, FPV kill zones now stretch up to 10 miles, reshaping how battles are fought and forcing armies to rethink every tactic. Soldiers call them living nightmares. Columns of armored vehicles that once symbolized unstoppable power are now trapped, roasted, or blown apart before reaching their objectives. And it's not just the Russians. Ukrainian forces must also navigate these zones carefully, or risk losing men and machines to the same deadly technology they've perfected. On today's battlefield, dominance belongs to the side that can master drones, coordination, and kill zones, and everyone else is at risk of being left behind. Both sides have had to adapt fast to survive in this new battlefield dominated by FPV kill zones. Russia, once relying on massive tank columns, now sends small infantry groups of 2 or 3 soldiers advancing on foot, motorbikes, or quad bikes. It's a deadly, often suicidal tactic, but it serves 2 purposes: forcing Ukraine to expend drones on low-value targets, and revealing the positions of Ukrainian artillery and operators for counterattacks. Tanks have been forced into a new role: the cautious tank. They're no longer charging headlong into battle. Instead, they provide cover for infantry, fire at enemy positions from hidden locations, and retreat before being exposed. Ukraine has adopted a similar approach, reorganizing its brigades so tanks play a secondary role while mechanized infantry leads the charge. This shift has fundamentally changed the dynamics of war. Armored vehicles are no longer the stars, they're tools, supporting infantry while avoiding the deadly sky above. The front line is now a chessboard, and every movement is calculated to survive swarms of drones. The age of reckless tank charges is over, replaced by patience, precision, and innovation. So, is this the end of the tank? Not quite. While FPV drones have made them far more vulnerable, tanks aren't obsolete, they've just evolved. In forests, rugged terrain, and areas where drones can't fly, they remain ferocious weapons. The battle for the Serebryansky forest near Seversk is proof that tanks can still dominate when used smartly. Both sides are adapting. Cope cages, wire grills fitted over tanks, can now cause drones to explode before hitting the armor, and experimental vehicles like the Turtle and Zombie tanks are showing surprising resilience. Russia's T-90M Prorov tanks now include advanced anti-drone systems and electronic warfare measures, signaling that engineers worldwide are taking these lessons seriously. The bottom line: tanks are no longer the unstoppable giants of the past, but they're far from gone. They've become smarter, more cautious, and increasingly integrated with infantry and technology. In a world of drone swarms and FPV kill zones, the future of armored warfare isn't dead. It's evolving, and the next generation of tanks could be nearly impossible to stop. The rise of FPV drones has changed warfare forever. Tanks that once symbolized unstoppable power are now cautious, hidden, and vulnerable. But they're not gone. They've adapted, evolved, and learned to survive alongside infantry, electronic warfare, and new counter-drone technology. What's clear is that the battlefield of tomorrow won't be decided by size or firepower alone. It will be won by strategy, innovation, and mastery of drones. The Russian tank may no longer dominate the front lines, but the lessons from Ukraine are shaping the next era of warfare worldwide. Engineers are already designing tanks that can survive drone swarms, and armies are redefining how armored units fight, support, and defend. The tank isn't dead. It's evolving into something smarter, tougher, and more adaptable than ever before. If you want to keep your finger on the pulse of these battlefield innovations, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The wars of tomorrow are already being fought today, and you won't want to miss a single development.